what time this is. This is the afternoon time, but this is also the traditional, which has become now a ritual front lawn namaskaram time. So I will come to the center of the stage. I will wish you a nice and warm namaskar on this nice and warm, hot Jaipur afternoon. And what you have to do then is respond the namaskar back to me with all the energy you can muster right now, okay? It's a simple drill. We'll start with that. I just hope everybody is awake right now. You can also use your badges to fan yourselves and become your own fan. We appreciate the kind of candor at the festival. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 15th edition of the Jaipur Literature Festival, protected by Dettol, Banega Swast India. We are at the front lawn and we are delighted to introduce Delhi, the city and its people. This session is part of the JCB Prize for Literature series. In a narrative spanning 4 decades, M. Mukundan's Delhi, a soliloquy, winner of the 2021 JCB Prize for Literature, recounts the story of Delhi. M. Mukundan, Fathima E.V, and Nandakumar K, in conversation with Alka Pande, discuss this utterly fascinating novel and the process of a collaborative translation. I will now invite the speakers for the session one by one. M. Mukundan is a well-known fiction writer from Kerala and has over 40 books to his credit. He was presented with the, and I hope I get this right, Ezhuthachan Puraskaram, the highest state award in Kerala, and the insignia of the Chevalier in the Order of Arts and Letters by the government of France, and is a 2-time winner of the Crossword Award. He was president of the Kerala Sahitya Akademi and won the JCB Prize for Literature in 2021 for his novel, Delhi, a Soliloquy. We welcome you, sir. Nandakumar K started his career as a sub-editor at Financial Express after doing his master's degree in economics, followed by stints in international marketing and general management in India and abroad. Delhi, a Soliloquy is his first published translation from Malayalam. His other translations are The Lesbian Cow and Other Stories and In the Name of the Lord. We welcome you, sir. Fathima E.V is the co-translator along with Nandakumar K of M. Mukundan's Delhi, a Soliloquy, which was awarded the JCB Prize for Literature in 2021. She received the 2018 Crossword Book Award for Fiction in Translation and V. Abdullah Translation Award 2017 for her debut translation, A Preface to Man by Subhash Chandran. Her other work includes Baby Doll, Stories of Gracie, which is currently on the long list of the inaugural She the People Women Writers Prize 2022. Fatima is a former associate professor of English in the Kerala Government Service and currently a visiting faculty for translation studies at the TE Malayalam University in Kerala. We welcome you, ma'am. Alka Pande is an art historian who taught Indian arts and aesthetics at Punjab University for more than 10 years. Pande is the recipient of many distinguished awards, including, and the list begins again, Knight of the Order of the Arts and Letters by the French government, Australian Indian Council Special Award, L'Oréal Paris Femina Women Under Design and Arts, and the Amrita Shergill Samman, among others. Currently, Pande is a consultant art advisor and curator of the Visual Arts Gallery at India Habitat Center, New Delhi. Ladies and gentlemen, I am a Delhiite through and through, KG to PG and living all of it. So I'm delighted to introduce this session and hand you over to this magnificent panel. Ladies and gentlemen, Delhi, the city and its people.
As our very ebullient master of the stage introduced us, thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here on this panel with 3 very, very interesting people. And I think probably I have the most challenging job of how to handle these 3 diverse energies. I'm delighted to meet my friend Mukundan after many, many years. Many congratulations on winning the award, much deserved. And I'm so happy to see you after so many years. Mukundan came to Delhi more than 60 years ago when he was a young man barely out of his teens and lived there for a long time. And his book is really a beautiful personal sketch of Delhi and its people. Since we have a limited time and we can keep talking about the book with the two translators here, who are also ebullient in their own way. So I'm going to get straight to Mukundan first and ask him, why did he write about Delhi? He lives in Mahe, he's from Kerala, he could have written on anything, and he wrote in Malayalam. So why Delhi? It's open. It's open.
Sorry. Well, I lived for over 40 years in Delhi. I belong there. So whenever I belong somewhere, I would want to write about that place. That is my nature. Wherever I go, then immediately, sooner or later, I would write about it. So Delhi, well, for you, for most of us, there is only one Delhi, but for me, there are two. That is the first Delhi. That is when I arrived in Delhi in the early 60s. And the other Delhi, that is the Delhi which I exited after 40 years. So actually there are two. So both these Delhi are quite different. When I reached Delhi in the 60s, well, it wasn't a big city. It was rather a montage of towns, villages, pastures, and all that. It was hardly a city. And it was so peaceful. Everywhere there were cauliflower fields or wheat fields. You won't imagine now where stands Greater Kailash. That was a barren land. And beyond that, there was a wheat field. So Delhi was such a place when I reached there. And in fact, even before reaching Delhi, I was in love with Delhi. I imagine a Delhi. I imagine a Delhi of beautiful people, beautiful women, handsome men, and charismatic people like Pandit Nehru and V.K. Krishna Menon and all that. That was the Delhi of my imagination. Delhi had a kind of halo, just like Jesus Christ had a circle of light around his head. So that was the Delhi of my imagination with a halo, with a circle of light. But when I arrived in Delhi, I found a different Delhi. Well, it was rather good. It was peaceful, quiet, nice. But soon Delhi started changing. Very soon it became a grotesque city. It was a jungle of concrete, and there was pollution, violence, and all that. Then what happened? The halo disappeared. The halo around Delhi disappeared. And in that place, there was another halo, a halo of darkness, pain, crime, and all that. So that is the Delhi I wanted to write about it. And that is what I wrote. That is what you read in this novel.
So that's interesting. You actually wrote a picture of a moving Delhi, like almost like a veritable feast. Why did you write it in Malayalam? You know French, you know English. Yeah, why Malayalam?
Malayalam, because you see, I used to speak 4 languages when I was in Delhi. At home, Malayalam with my wife and kids. When I go out to buy sabji to the vegetable market, I spoke Hindi. And when I went out to meet friends, artists, writers, and all that, I speak English. And in the office, I spoke French. But you see, if I want to say, I love you, I will rather say that in French. Je t'aime. I can't say that in any other language. So that's a language in which you can express your love, not for love for women, but love for anything. So, but this said, I can dream only in Malayalam. In no other languages I can dream. That's why I write in Malayalam.
So you were not happy just having your book published in Malayalam, and you thought it would be a good idea to get it written, to write in English. So what prompted you to choose the two translators that we have? Because normally people generally take one translator. But I see here, you have two. You have Fathima, you have Nandakumar, you have a woman, you have a man. So what was it? Was it a gender balance? Why is it that you were not happy just with Nandakumar or just with Fathima? So I'm quite intrigued why you chose two translators, and did you choose them, and why did you want your book translated in English?
You see, I wanted to get it translated because it's a book about Delhi. So all those who live in Delhi, they should read it rather than the Malayalis. So I write about Delhi, and no one in Delhi hardly reads it. That's very bad. So that's why I thought of getting it translated, so that everybody in Delhi could, everybody means all the lovers of literature, lovers of fiction, they could read it. That's why the idea of getting it translated came to my mind. Then it's rather a big book. It's not easy to translate. Then I was lucky to come across Fathima. She's a wonderful translator. Already she has won Crossword Award for translation. And she's from my place, Mahe. Not exactly Mahe, but yeah, 90% Mahe. So I was lucky to have found her for translation. And Nandakumar is also a wonderful translation, but I tell you, frankly, that is Fathima who discovered Nandakumar. So they did it together. So I am happy. I am all the more happy. It's an honor for me. My novel is translated by two great translators instead of one. So that way I am blessed. I am happy about it. And the translation has come out very well. Wonderful. That, all the reviews we received for this book, most of them, they mention about it, about the quality of the translation. Well, that is it.
So I'm going to invite now Fathima to tell me the story of how it all started. When did it start? How long did it take you? Why did you involve Nandakumar? You were a fabulous translator yourself. I'm not trying to say that Nandakumar is any less, but what was the need that you felt that you would need a collaborator with you in translation?
Nandakumar, I've been friends with Nandakumar for 22 years. So we've collaborated unofficially. So we are quite familiar with each other's writing, each other's strengths, weaknesses. So I couldn't start off. I was busy at that time with my own work, and my academic work. So I couldn't start off the translation, though I had agreed to do it. So that's when Nandakumar offered to join the project. And then I knew if he was there, it would be easier. And he said that he offered to do the first draft so that we can work further on the drafts. So when he offered, I spoke to Mukundan, and Mukundan agreed, and that's how it started off. And I'm really happy that we both are on board because together the work is easier and a lot more productive.
So Fathima, you live in Mahe, and Nandakumar, you were living in Kochi at that time, right? So how did the three of you kind of collaborate, Fathima? Did you not feel that Mukundan close to you as a neighbor, Nandakumar far away? And since he's doing the first draft, did you have absolute faith in him that he would be totally fidel to the text?
Absolutely.
And maybe you could then ask Nandakumar how he felt in giving the text to you, and then your collaboration. So if you tell me first that how did you feel about doing it from 3 different places?
Yeah, that was fine because of we are living in the age of internet, and I was not living in Mahi at that particular time. I was in Kannur, so all of us, we had WhatsApp conversations and also emails, and it's quite easy to do it that way. And and I had absolute faith in Nandan doing the first draft beautifully, and he has done it as well. So after that, it came to me, and then it was a collaboration, more of a collaboration. Because it was easier for me to call up Mukundan and talk to him, clear doubts if necessary, etc. So the draft kept moving back and forth, and that's how we went to this. And after that, it went to the we had a very gifted editor as well. So it went to the editor, and then we had a very productive, very engaging WhatsApp group through which we did the rest of the work.
So Nandakumar, will you tell me what you felt when you saw the manuscript, the first reaction? What did you feel? And what was your process? Because you knew that you have a collaborator. So did you have some concept in mind? What was the process of your work and your initial reaction to the manuscript?
I don't know. When the book came to me,
yeah.
See, I have this, I don't know if it's a good or a bad habit. I don't read a book beforehand when I translate, because I have this feeling that an author needs you to only know so much at page number so and so. I mean, you don't second guess the author and then translate. So every book I have translated from Delhi onwards, and even before that, I will only read and translate. So I was discovering Delhi as I went through the translation. So once I completed that, then I passed it on to Fathima, because she is a better this thing. She has already proven this thing. I was a beginner, a tyro. So then she added to the translation, improved upon it, and then it went for the editing part. I mean, there are unlike in Malayalam, there are about 2-3 rounds of copy editing, and then a final round of line editing by the chief editor. So, and Karthika was wonderful. I mean, we had this thing about both of them wanted to prune the text. I said no, and I said, look, the book is whole. You treat a book as whole. I mean, when he wrote it, he had a certain vision about the book. You keep the book as it is. So he also thought maybe it is slightly this thing. She also thought. But Karthika luckily was, in favor of not cutting out anything from the book. And so the whole thing is there now. I mean, whatever is in Malayalam is in this. There is nothing which we have left out.
So from the little that you said, I sense that definitely there were some differences of opinion. Which is very interesting, because that's what makes the work more alive. If you are yes, 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 then the energy can be different. So tell me, what were your differences?
No, there was no differences. Now, don't bring in differences when nothing was there. So the only difference was this. She thought, and Mohan also perhaps thought, that it is a big book, because it's about 170,000 words in English. And for a publisher to take on that size, because publishing is such a thing that they go by the number of pages, and that's how they. That was the only. I don't think we differed in anything else.
Fatima,
three words. Yeah. Mohan had an objection to 3 words. That's it. That's all.
Yeah, we do disagree. I would disagree about that. We do disagree, but we agree to disagree, and we agree to agree if it is for the best for the if it is good for the book. That's how we go about. But all small, tiny little things about choice of words, maybe a tonal difference, etc. But we work together for so long that it is all part of the process, part of the energizing process of the production of a book.
So, Mukundan, tell me, how much did you have to intervene? What was the way? You gave the manuscript to them? Did you just wait for them to get back with the first draft to you? Or did you see it chapter-wise? Did you want to see the first chapter to see if Fathima and Nandakumar had captured the essence of your book? Would you like to tell me a little bit about that?
I didn't see everything together. But, from time to time, they used to send me 3 chapters or 4 sub chapters. I didn't find any difference, anything to quarrel with them or argue with them, because I know that the translation, the very concept of translation has changed now. Earlier, it was just you pay attention to the grammatical problem or syntax problem. Now it is no more there. Translation has become another sort of creative work. It's a creative work. So if they want to do a creative work, I shouldn't be very obstinate. I should give them certain amount of freedom. And I knew that if I give them certain amount of freedom, they will use it positively. They'll make the translation better. So I never had any problem with them. And I was rather very happy about it. Then as Nandan said, our editor Kartika, she did a wonderful work. And this is luckily, Kartika, she's also Malayali, so she can get the feel of it, feel of the language. So it is not one person's work. All of us, we work together, including Kartika, and finally this is the outcome. So I'm really very happy about it. And I think that a novel should be translated this way. It should be a creative translation. It shouldn't be just a translation. Yeah.
So I'm actually going to take from that very, very important point that you made, that in the traditional translation, maybe even say 2 decades ago, it was just line to line, right? You went line by line, you translated it. Today, it's a collaborative work. So whether the font size is bigger of the writer and the translators are there in a smaller font, but it is very much part of the main cover of the book. So tell me, do you think that Delhi and its people in English is a different kind of a book to what Delhi and its people in Malayalam was? Because now you have the 2 collaborators, as you said, and perhaps the 4th with Kartika. So has this work as a writer, has it changed? Whether you appreciate it, and you've been, of course, generous and probably, and of course, you believe that the creative translation is very important. But what do you feel about this text and the text you wrote in Malayalam? How fidel or how correct or how closest to it is it?
I think the translation is as good as Malayalam. And when I read this after the translation, the book came out and I started reading it for the first time in the book form. Then I didn't feel that I am reading it in English. In my hand, it's a book in English, but I was reading in Malayalam. So that's what kind of a blending is there, the original and the translation. That's why I say that translation should be creative. And for example, Marcus is translated. Is equally known as Marcus. Is a star. So that is, we accept the fact that a translator is a creative person, and a translator is as important as the original writer. That is my idea of translation. I didn't want any translator just to do it in a word by word translation. But sometimes, people do it even now. What is the problem? That is the writer's ego. The writer's ego matters. I don't have that sort of ego. I have shed that ego right from the beginning. So if I have that kind of ego, and I don't think the book will be different, or the book will never come out. So that sort of an understanding should be there between the writer and the translator. And even the very word of translator, I don't like, we have to find out something else, which is equally important as the word writer. Well,
Nandakumar, he just said very categorically that he has no ego. So I'm going to ask you, did you have any kind of egotistical problems with Mukundan in the beginning? And what was your primary challenge when you started the translation?
Well, see, I am a kind of, if you know cricket, you know how Sehwag plays? He sees the ball and hits the ball. I am that kind of a translator. I don't agonize over I read, I get the sense, I translate. So that's how I've done always. I don't know. There's a sentence, appears to me in English in this way, and I do it. And so far, all the authors are happy with. I mean, when they tell me that, okay, this is what we meant. I mean, that is the proof of the effectiveness of the translation. So all of them have stood by what I have reproduced in English. So he has no ego. I mean, even you can provoke him, he will not get, he won't. So
did that work against? Did that work against you, that he's not going to be provoked? Because sometimes in provocative discussions, a new thing emerges.
Very difficult to answer. But again, see, I have always believed that I should be faithful to the text. And you could ask other authors also, and they would, I think, give witness to that fact that I've never tried to recreate something, in that sense. So whatever he has put into the book is there. I mean, that was my objective, and I think that has been done faithfully.
Fatima, did you have any, as you said, you agreed to disagree. I'm going to take you on that. So where did you agree to disagree with Nandakumar? What were your points of differences? Was it to do with the fidelity of the text? Was it to do with the creative transformation of the text? How was the process of collaboration between the two of you?
As for this particular translation, we didn't have too many differences of opinion. Only differences would be that is an ongoing quarrel with Nandan that I have. Nandan would find the choices, what I call big words. So I have a quarrel with that. All the time I say it has to be communicable. It is not. But he says, what he says, his argument is that we learned language and we learned the interesting words through because we came across them. That's fine. But in Mukundan's case, I felt that both of us, in fact, felt that it had to be as simple as the original, because it was deliberately simple in the original Malayalam. So we had to ensure that the tone would be there, empathetic tone would be there. It is from the, the entire, it's like a witness narrative. So it is a very empathetic witness narrative. So we had to ensure that we are always on that particular line. So we didn't have too many quarrels, small little quarrels, which were resolved quite quickly. That's why I said, if we, even when we agree to disagree, it's always about agreeing when it comes to the good of the book.
So Mukundan, tell me, did you have a lot of in-person meetings at this time? Because most of the work was done, I think, during the COVID period. So editing. Oh, it was all pre-COVID. So did you have a lot of in-person meetings? Did you sit together? Did you talk together? Or it was?
No, it was always on the phone. Okay. And Fatima was very near. But even I think we have met once or twice, but we didn't have much discussion about this. But I had, as I said, I had confidence in Fatima and in Nandakumar. You see, my only worry was that the novel, it just got a music, just like, a movie. It has got a background music. Like that, I think a novel has got a background music. It's something like, I think it's Ben Okri who said in his novel, Famished Road, that he's standing on a road and he says, under the road, there's a river flowing. So you don't see it, but it's beneath the road. There is a river flowing. Just like that, I think in each novel, or at least in my novel, there is a music that flows, which is invisible. Perhaps you can't hear it, but it is there. And in this book, that music is very dark, very somber kind of thing. That is because I'm telling about poor people. Like the gutter cleaner or the barber and all that. It's their story. So naturally, the music that runs in the novel. That is very, very dark, very sad, you know. But that they were able to capture. That's why I am happy. And I'm happy also that the book is well received in Delhi. It's about Delhi. So people in Delhi started reading it. And there's another reason, the JCB Prize. It helped a lot. I'm grateful to Mita is there. And JCB Prize just helped a lot. Yeah, because we have very good writers in Kerala, but they are hardly known outside because of this linguistic barrier. So this JCB Prize, what they did, it deleted the borders, the boundaries, and the book started flying beyond the border, transcending the border. That is why I'm happy. Altogether, I am happy.
Since all three of you are here together, it's a lovely occasion. I would like, I think, Fatima, to choose maybe your favorite text. I don't know if that would be the favorite text of Mukundan or Nandakumar, but maybe your favorite text, maybe I can ask Nandakumar to choose his and Mukundan to choose, however you wish it to, so that the audience gets the feel, the energy and the voice of both the writer and the translators.
Unfortunately, there are too many favorite passages. So I'll just read one of them, which is very, it captures, he's masterful. Mukundan is masterful when it comes to capturing a particular scene. The scene will speak for itself. So this is about this particular chapter from part 2, The Republic of Hunger. And this is the 7th chapter, Friends and Refugees. So this is about the refugee influx and the hatred that instills in people who are already here for those who are coming from outside. So it actually, the moment sort of encapsulates the deep-seated hatred, the helplessness of the people who receive the hatred, people who who are not party to the violence, who are not responsible for the violence, but becoming the victims of violence. So this is, you see pristine, civilized people indulging in hatred, which seems absolutely incomprehensible. So I'll read out from that particular chapter, Friends and Refugees. The refugee influx from Bangladesh, which had started before the 1971 war, continued after the war too. Hungry, sick and exhausted, the refugees moved to various parts of the country through multiple entry points in the northeast. It was like the overflow of sludge and rocks that follows a landslide. Journeys that began as a flight from death turned into funeral processions of poverty and hunger. Sahadevan, who is the main voice, Sahadevan and the witness. So Sahadevan saw them for the first time near the Nizamuddin Dargah. The settlement lay on the route from the eastern part of Delhi to the city center. The road from Sundarnagar, home to the rich, to Chanakyapuri, home to diplomats, also passed through this area. Besides the road and below the trees, they appeared as sores and grew like pustules. Little children with misshapen torsos, pale yellow skin, and sunken eyes thrust their arms out at pedestrians and passing cars. Most of them were naked, and the boys were circumcised. As he watched, a middle-aged man in a pristine white kurta pajama, probably on his way back from the Shiva temple on Humayun Road, with no provocation whatsoever from anyone, got down from his cycle, picked up some stones from the pavement and threw them at the children. One of the stones found its mark. It hit the thing he had aimed at, a circumcised penis. For a moment, the child stood with its mouth agape, numb like a statue. Then, convulsing in pain, he screamed and ran. The women who were cooking on makeshift stoves under the trees, using rotten fish scrounged from the rubbish bins of Jama Masjid and rice bought from money, with money catched through begging, started wailing through. No one could understand why the man had stoned the children. Thank you.
Beautifully evocative, sad, yet capturing the harsher realities of life. Thank you, Mukundan. Is there anything you feel is very much close to your heart and you'd like to read from your book?
As Fatima said, there are many passages. It's a big book, but I don't think we can read all of them because time is running out already.
Okay.
Yeah, but this is what Fatima read. This is really representative of the mood of the book, the content of the book. So it's good.
Thank you very much, Mukundan. Thank you, Nandakumar. Thank you, Fatima. And now I open the panel to questions. Anything you'd like to ask? Yes, I can already see a hand here. We have 10 minutes, a little less than 10 minutes, and we can field a couple of questions. So if you'd...
Thank you so much. As you dream in Malayalam, I think I should say this in Malayalam as well. This is a fangirl moment for me. And ഇവിടെ വെച്ച് കണ്ടതിലും കേൾക്കാൻ പറ്റിയതിലും ഒരുപാട് സന്തോഷം. That I'm really lucky to see you and listen to you here. Sir, I was born in 1984, but while I was started reading these non-children books, I read the books which you have written, before I was born. So it started with, I think, Mayedipura, Haridwaril Manigal Murugumbol. So all of this, and also Delhi. And I moved to Delhi in 2005, and I had a copy of Delhi. So when I think in 2008 is when I think the second book on Delhi or Pravasam came out. So again, it was always with me. And I still remember holding this Haridwaril Manigal Murugumbol while I was going to Haridwar. And the reason to go Haridwar is because I have read your book. So that's the impact of me growing up reading your book. And that's why I said it's a fangirl movement. But my question is, in one of your interview, you have mentioned that you would never write about happy people. Yeah. And that was really intriguing to me. I know it's very effective style of writing about misery and it's really impactful. But why not about happy people? Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
I have nothing against happy people. And well, like everybody else, I want to be happy. But somehow I can't write about happy people. Then, for example, Shashi Tharoor asked me while talking about this book, why you didn't write about the great people, great Malayalis in Delhi, like V.K. Krishna Menon or cartoonist Shankar, such great charismatic people. They are all great people. You see, I cannot write about great people because I am not a great writer. I am not. So I am very comfortable when I write about poor people, suffering people. So the day the suffering ends, we know that it won't happen. But for some mysterious reason, one day everybody is happy. Then I won't write. I will stop writing. Because happy people hardly needs me. Or happy people hardly needs writers. But when you are disturbed, you write. You read or you write. And in a way, it's a big relief. When you are really suffering, you are pain stricken, then you take a book, then you read it. It makes you, I don't know, it won't make you happy, but somehow at least it will quieten you. You'll feel peaceful. So that is the role of a good novel. And so I write above all to bring peace to myself. When I am disturbed, I write, and then I feel better. See, well, that's all.
Yeah, sure. Oh, there's another one there.
Hello. I just wanted to ask you, you've written about Delhi, but do you see Delhi as a city of people or as a city of monuments or as what? Like What is a city to you?
You see, for me, as I said, it's a dream city. It's everything is it's commingling with its monuments and its history, its people. I can't separate them. These are not different elements, you know. All together, that is Delhi. So, for example, Delhi has got something, it triggers the creativity in you. Supposing there's a little bit of writer's creativity in you, you go to Delhi, Delhi will make you a writer. And one day you may win even it's a JCB Prize. so that is it. Delhi is a creative city and it makes others creative. That is the creativity which I am in love with in talking about Delhi. And I'm sure if there is another thing, I have written 30 books, little over 30 books. Each and every book was written in Delhi. Even after I left Delhi, I went home in my hometown. Then at that time, I wrote this Delhi Soliloquy, but I didn't write it there. I went to Delhi. Then it's there that I wrote it. So that's why I say that, if you want to be a writer, go to Delhi.
Hello. Just wanted to ask you, like great Malayalam writers, your contemporaries, like O.V. Vijayan and Kakanadan, are not there. What do you think about outliving them?
I don't want to outlive them because they are great writers. So compared to them, I am very small. And I always love small things, And I don't like, for example, the Himalaya, I don't like the Ganga River. Rather, I like small streams, or small hillocks and all that. So I am a writer of small things. So I have no problem. If the others are great, I am very happy. I would like to be a small writer, a modest writer. That even if you don't have any ambition, that's better. Then you are at peace with yourself. You can write the way you want. But now there's a lot of competition, and so I want to keep out of that. That way, I'll be comfortable. Like maybe I can write better. And O.V. Vijayan is a great writer, of course. Everybody knows that.
Hello. Hello, sir. Good evening. It's amazing to see your love for Delhi. And I share the same. So it reminds me of one of the, Shairi of Ghalib also, which says, Suna garche dakhan mein hai badi kadre sukhan. Suna garche dakhan mein hai badi kadre sukhan. Par zauq kaun jaye ye Delhi ki galiyan chhod ke. Thank you for correcting me. Yeah. But nowadays, when I talk to young people, they are, falling, running away from Delhi, because of various reasons. So what would be your advice to them?
No, they should stay there. After all, it is their Delhi. They shouldn't abandon it. They should give it up. They should stay there. And, there is no ideal place. Where you are, that is your home. So love it. Even if it's a bad place, if it's a polluted place, stay there. So that is my concept, where you are, that is your home. Running away is not a solution.
Most of them are, falling in love with Bengaluru more, in southern
Bangalore,
India.
very soon it will be like Delhi, don't worry. So it's on the way.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next question. The gentleman there. Aapke piche. Then you.
So, sir, I have been quite mesmerized with this conversation. I want to ask a question. Since I was a child, I have been going to Delhi.
Hold the mic close.
Since I have been a child, I have been going to Delhi for the past 19 years. And every time I exit the train and enter the station, there's a vibe that everything's going to be fine despite all the hardship that we face in Delhi. So do you ever get that feeling when you were there?
Yeah, you see, I told you, when I went there, it was altogether a different Delhi. Well, I was comfortable with that. Even now, you see, I left Delhi. It's not because Delhi, there's a lot of crime, pollution. That is not the reason why I left Delhi. Because I retired from my job. Then, I wanted to go back because I lived only for 20 years in my hometown. So I wanted to go back and live there at least 10 years. Because that nostalgia was always in me, you see. So that's why I went back, and not because Delhi is a polluted city or it's a criminal city, not that reason. Because only 20 years I could live in my hometown. The rest of my life I spent in Delhi. So I thought before I die, I should go back. I should go back home and live there 10 years. Because, and Mahe, it's a beautiful place. It's like an island. And two sides you have river, one side you have the sea, and it's a wonderful place. It's lush green, and you have got very good fish curry, rice and fish curry, and you have got appam and stew, and there are so many things to eat, So I have been eating, I had been eating chapati for so many years. I wanted to go back and eat appam and stew, and rice and fish curry. So now this is what I eat now. I'm happy.
So we have one last question.
Thank you so much for the conversation today. My question is related to the translation process. I wanted to understand, did either of you struggle with your own ideas or own understanding of Delhi as you went through the translation?
No, Mukundan actually reached Delhi in 62. I reached Delhi in 82. So I have also lived for about nearly 20 years there. So I knew most of the Delhi he wrote about, and some, of course, was before my time. I translate what the writer has written. So no preconceived notions get into when I do my work. I am only a voice or a medium through which the author should reach the reading public. So nothing about, there were certain issues like, since I knew the geography of Delhi, in one place he had taken the character in the opposite direction. I told Mohan let us bring him back into, that helped because I lived in Delhi. Another person wouldn't have, seen that. So apart from that, there are no interventions from my side in that novel. It's exactly what he has written that has been reproduced. And as far as I work, I try to keep it that way so that there is no mean that it is the author who speaks.
Yeah, I would like to add that it's about, translation is also about a kind of an intimate reading. So we are readers as well. While we are translating, we also are readers.
So thank you very much, Mukundan, Nandakumar, and Fathima. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, on a personal note, what a session. I am from Delhi, like I said earlier, and it's perhaps time to rekindle my romance with the city, which is probably long lost in my childhood. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Delhi, the city and its people. Thank you to all the panelists on stage, M. Mukundan, Nandakumar K, Fathima E.V, and Ms. Alka Pande. Ladies and gentlemen, may we also request our panelists to accept a small token of our love and appreciation. We thank the JCB Prize for Literature series for their support. And we also would like to tell you that their books, the JCB Prize for Literature books, are available for purchase at the bookstore. So thank you so much for being a part of this session. We will be back with the next session very, very shortly. Thank you.